something not to watch
Oh.
because it would be 2 hours of your life wasted.
Oh,
Enola,
yeah.
Enola Holmes.
Okay, so if you're a teenager, maybe it's different. Maybe we'll enjoy this. Or like if you're younger. Um,
They just won't.
I don't know that we really have any people that listen to this podcast that are like between 12 and 15, but I do think it is more for that age range.
Yes, and it's very bubbly, and she like talks. It's Millie Bobby Brown, and it's nice that she's in this kind of a role that is her actual age, and she's
Yeah.
with all these incredible British actors, like they're all bloody in it, and there's loads of them. And unfortunately, the plot does not make sense. They did all of the actors dirty with the
Yeah.
plot, and it was a really rubbish look at early kind of suffragette dilemmas
It was
in the turn
offensive
of the
to.
1900s.
Yeah,
It's
they
offensive.
shouldn't have included the suffragettes. It feels offensive to their memory. I think maybe we look at it more of like, because I don't know, we've done an English degree. We kind of get passionate about this sort of stuff, so maybe people don't care as much. But um, the thing is, like, we know Sherlock as, if you know any of the stories at all, they're famous for not including women. Like,
Yeah,
it's a man's world. There's like
yeah.
one or two women that pop up. And if you are a woman in it, you kind of get treated badly. Um, he doesn't tell, like, there's one where he discovers the whole case. He knows what's happening, and he refuses to tell the woman that it's happening to because he believes that she'll be sad if she knows the truth. And there's one where he says about a woman like would reveal her hiding place because there's something to do with babies and stuff. I don't know.
Oh
It's very
God.
sexist.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do like, oh, this female reimagining or his sister, you kind of expect it to address the fact that they're massive misogynists
Yeah.
and then be like, this person is way ahead of their time. They made Mycroft be a massive misogynist, but
They did.
that
And
was
I
it.
think
And
that's
even
the
that just seemed
issue.
badly done.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. It was like, right, we're going to tackle these issues in a lens for young girls. So they've got
Yeah.
someone to look up to if they don't see themselves in Sherlock Holmes, because they wouldn't see themselves in Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
because they weren't put in Sherlock Holmes. And we've said this with people trying to do like reimaginings. I think there's a need for something more for period dramas now. I feel like it
Yeah.
has to have a new take on it because these are like not ancient stories but old stories that we've got to find a way to relate to them in our modern
The best
stuff of it.
example of that happening recently is the David Copperfield film.
Oh, it was
Which
so
that's
good.
the best way to do it. If you've not seen it,
Yes.
they did what do they call it? Open casting or blind casting.
Yeah.
And they just cast whoever's best for the job.
Yeah.
And so you're watching it, you're seeing people that you would normally see. It's not just a fully white cast, which Enola
No.
Holmes basically is. It's just
Yes.
white people, with the occasional token
Black.
minority thrown in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, we did include some people.
It's just not good enough. I think that's the issue. It's like it's not good enough. And so they made Mycroft the big main baddie, even though Sherlock has just as many misogynistic
Well,
viewpoints because of his, you
yeah.
know, his
If
outlook
anything,
on it.
from the original text, Sherlock is the big misogynist because you don't
Mm,
really hear about Mycroft that often. He's not
no.
introduced until later on. So if you're going off the books and basing who's misogynistic of that, the person who would be very misogynistic would be Sherlock.
Not himbo
No.
Sherlock that we got from Henry
But
Cavill.
what annoys me is I watched a video that was comparing it to the original book, and the original book sounds so sweet and is
Yeah.
meant for children,
Yeah.
but in the book Sherlock doesn't like Enola and it kind of treats her the same as Mycroft.
Mm,
And it's not until apparently books later that he learns to respect her.
yeah.
And so then they also wouldn't be at risk of being sued. Because the reason that Netflix is potentially being sued is because they portrayed him as nice, and the
Oh my
nice
God.
Sherlock is what the Arthur Conan Doyle
Estate.
estate has copyright over. they don't have copyright over him being mean because they weren't able to copyright the early books, but they copyrighted the later books where he's nicer.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
if
when
you're
he gets
being
his
nice,
redemption, yeah.
they can sue you. Don't make him nice. Make him
See?
horrible. They
Yeah,
can't see
because he
it all.
was.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the feminist plot is that their parent, Helena Bonham Carter, I can't remember what her name is. She has another weird Victorian name.
Yeah.
She disappears, and she's kind of planning on blowing up Parliament, is a suggestion.
Yeah.
If they don't put a reform bill through. And then that plot line, she's like, I'm gonna find my mum. I miss my mum. Like, she's just left me. She gives up halfway through to go and save this guy who's the love interest. And then we're like, we've still got another hour and a half left of this. Like, what have we been watching for?
I honestly, 20 minutes in, I thought that we were an hour in. It felt very slow. I don't. It felt slow. I mean, I wasn't bored. I can't say I was bored at any point, but it did feel slow. And also another thing in the books, apparently the whole thing is that she's not that close with her mum, which then makes sense apparently her mum is a lot older and had her when she was very old or something. No, probably not that old, but that was the whole thing. And then she said that she wasn't close with her mum because her mum had her so late in life, I guess, compared to the other children.
Mm-hmm.
And so to like go off and live on her own, and she still had a child, so they were never close. And that makes sense why then her mum would feel like she could leave her. Two, Enola would be okay at the end with her mum just not being there.
Yeah, because she was used to it.
In the film, they're like besties. They spend every day together.
Mm.
They do everything together. Enola's got
just
no one else.
Yeah, and so she's abandoned. And then we were kind of talking about it afterwards, and we were saying, like, wouldn't it have been better if they like followed through on the suffragette plot? So she finds her mum because she's such a great detective because she's the sister of Sherlock Holmes, and then she has to confront the fact that her mum wants to be violent and wants
brushed
to
over very fast. It's like they find the bombs and they're like, oh, and then about 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, yep, forget that ever happened. We're not going to address it ever again.
No.
It's never going to be mentioned. It was. Oh, sorry, we could talk about this all day.
I just
and
feel
we could
like
rewrite it, and it would be better. And we have no
amazing.
experience with writing film scripts.
No.
And I can guarantee it would make at least more sense.
Yeah, 12-year-olds deserve better, I think. I think instead of these like watered down attempts to instill feminist icons for young women, either write independent stories where young women are the center, or do better. Don't have a male director and a male screenplay doing a watered down vision of a feminist slant on Sherlock Holmes. Who'd have thought we'd even be in that point? Anyway.
Okay. Well, I could literally go on and talk about that for the whole podcast, but it's probably best I don't.